Everybody, thank you very much for coming back tonight to the PigSty. We have been very lucky enough tonight to have... Will we go with Jefferson or can we go with Jeff? Yes, Jeff is okay.
Jeff's fine. Yep.
Yes, we have Jeff and him and his brother. As I don't know if people don't know, I didn't put your link to your channel in the description. I was considering putting Jay's because that's probably where we would find you the most. But Hidden Gems, Spooky's in the chat, and a few other people will possibly know of Jeff. But yeah, a wee hidden gem in the community. Very intelligent man. Lots of good conversations. If you can wade between the 8 hours, there's usually at least 4 hours of good content in there. But Jeff, if for the people who don't know who you are, man, just if you want to just say hello.
Yeah, I've only been on YouTube. Kind of got involved about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think, maybe a little bit more. Kind of got pulled in. I started getting involved in kind of atheism back when I was about 30. I'm now 40-ish. And I kind of avoided getting into like the atheist community and stuff on YouTube other than to like watch other people's content and started seeing debates and stuff happen. My brother Jay on his channel, he started getting involved in Steve McRae's group and sort of the at the tail end of the Great Debate community, and he kind of pulled me in. So usually if I'm online, I've probably been pulled into one of his hangouts or something like that. I'd started doing my own. I started one about 3 months back. My first video I did was with, I interviewed Digital Hammurabi, Dr. Josh, for his book on slavery in the Old Testament.
Now, if we could just, if I can interrupt you there, man, just with what's happening at the minute, if we can just send our love out to Dr. Josh and Megan for what's happened, like, you know, and a lot of love for them at the minute. And Manda, who's in the chat, you know, love for Manda too.
But yeah, no, that was sort of my first one, and I kind of felt pretty self-satisfied when Dr. Josh complimented me on how well that interview went, and I was like, okay, thanks. And then I didn't do another video for like 8 weeks. But now I've started doing a few, but they're more like holy shit, yeah. I didn't know about Dr. Josh.
Yeah. No, so yeah.
That's rough. Yeah, it's too bad.
So you say that Jay started first on YouTube, but it was you that became an atheist first. Would you say you helped towards Jay, or did you sort of influenced him? He always does mention that you were there first when he talks about his deconversion.
Yeah, we used to have discussions about it for quite a while, and for a really long time, he was at least a deist. You know, he was sort of one of those people like, yeah, you know, I don't know if I believe in everything that the Bible says and all this kind of stuff, but I still think there's a higher power, et cetera, et cetera. And then over time, you know, I had told him about different resources that I had used and different arguments that I'd had, and then he started getting into, I think, the atheist. It's Matt Dillahunty's stuff. He started watching those videos, and he
yes, the atheist experience and stuff.
Yeah, he just watched tons of those, and then he would call me and then be like, "Hey, I saw this argument. What do you think of it?" And this guy said this to Matt. And I was like, into it, and yeah, he did that for God, probably a solid year before I ever really even got pulled in. I never really had any inclination to do a video, and then he started bringing me into live chats and introducing me to people, and sometimes it was fun, sometimes it was aggravating. A lot of times it was aggravating. Sometimes you get to talking to somebody and, you know, they're a Christian and you're an atheist, that's all you know about it, and then they start giving you opinions that are absolutely terrifying. So
yeah,
always interesting.
Yeah, some of the things, and that's why I would say that you know the conversations that you have, not only do they usually happen there and then, but they're usually deleted afterwards. And I don't think that's anything on the fact of, you know, we're hiding anything. It's usually down to the fact of you just don't think that anyone would give a shit.
Yeah.
But Spooky will disagree with me in the chat here. You know, some of the conversations, if you get in there at the right time, you know, as I say, you usually do go for 8 or 9 hours, but there's at least 4 hours in there where there's some sense spoke. And you bring people in that a lot of the community have, I wouldn't like to use the word shunned, but, you know, deservingly forgot about, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and you give a lot of your time, and for someone of your caliber, how long were you a Christian? 30 years?
Until I started kind of doubting at about the age of 28. But I was raised in multiple churches. I was, by other Christian standards, I was at least a nominal Christian for 28 years. Yeah.
American Young Earth Creationism, Catholic, Protestant, Baptist?
No, good old-fashioned crazy American evangelical. So it was a mixed bag of lots of different things. The church that I remembered the most as a kid coming up in was a non-denominational. I think they might have been Pentecostals. They were probably in the charismatic ones. They were really into praying in tongues. Sunday services would go on for 4 or 5 hours at times if people felt inclined. There were a lot of former, like, kind of Jesus freak types, you know, from the counterculture days that just sort of pivoted the late 60s into Christianity and tried to keep the party rolling that way. So there were a lot of different influences and stuff. They tried to create their own dogma. It was a little weird. They didn't have a pastor. They had 12 apostles.
Oh.
So, yeah, it was a very different church. And it started getting a little cult-like. Like, they started their own school, and then they were going to start, they wanted to build a compound where everyone could live together and do communal farming and stuff. And then
I do that with my friends, but that's just us being weird, you know.
Well, you know, yeah, you see communities doing that now, and it's like, oh yeah, the neighborhood garden kind of thing. That's just, but it's like, okay, yeah, we actually live all in the same building, and we all wear the same clothes because 3 people make them. You know, it was gonna get into like some science fiction stuff territory. But they ended up going bankrupt. They had a bunch of trouble, and then my parents ended up pulling me into me and my brothers and sisters. We ended up going to a very different church. It was very conservative, but it was Wesleyan. It was a Church of the Nazarene. And they're weird, but they were very uptight and very conservative. You couldn't dance, couldn't smoke, couldn't drink, couldn't gamble, no movies, preferably no TV. Music you had to be careful about. Very, very strict. Older population, and I came up in that one. That church also blew up on itself. So I saw that happen about 2 or 3 times. And that kind of affected me. So by the time I went on to college, I was still a believer, but I wouldn't go to church.
Yeah. You know, as my mother says, and I've repeated many times, she always says, God's not in a building. He's everywhere.
Yeah. And I would even run into like campus crusaders and stuff that would try to like get me to go back into fellowship and stuff. And I had a bad run-in with one of the pastors from the conservative church who told me to my face that I was the reason that if there was any trouble in their church, I was the influence. I was the cause. That's a hell of a thing to be told at the age of 14 by a 60-year-old man that you respected, like a grandfather or an uncle. And so I was crushed, and that was it. So, but I didn't lose my faith after that. Another 14, 15 years, I continued to be a believer, but I knew too well after seeing 2 different churches with very, very different personalities and very different outlooks. One was very zealous and outgoing and kind of naive. And the other one was like, they had the head stuff. They knew their Bible, but they weren't zealous at all. Watched them both explode from personality disputes and stuff like that. And it was just like, I don't think that this is actually sustainable. Once people start getting close, really close in those kinds of things.
Yeah, well, you see, that's it, man. When you start educating them, you know, what you find is a lot of people who are Christian, a lot of people of whatever particular religion are raised because that's the way their parents were raised. It's cultural. We're going to do Christmas. We're going to do Easter. And there's always, you know, we're going to church on a Sunday. And you become the faith that your parents had. But when you start to educate people outside of the one faith, and as like you said, you can see the differences between them, you're like, well, how can both of them be correct?
Yeah. Yep. And it seemed to me like the closer that people got to each other, the higher the stakes were. So when the blow up happened, everyone takes it seriously. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's a little heartbroken. And then that hurt doesn't really go away, and it informs the next decisions they make. So it ends up coming to this point where people start, I think usually at that point, people would either walk away from the church entirely, or they would shift their gears so that church was just about checking in. You go there on Sunday, it's basically a quick tune-up with God. You keep your distance from people. You're friendly and everything, but don't get too close. You know, don't watch their kids. Don't vacation together. Don't do any of that kind of stuff. That stuff all just dried up. And I was like, look, if that's the kind, if you're supposed to be in this kind of community, but you can't act, the real risk is becoming a community. I didn't want anything to do with it. It felt like there were too many layers of BS attached to all that. when everybody was supposed to be coming clean, right? Everybody's supposed to be bearing their souls and being supportive of one another, and that's not. And I foolishly thought that when I was a younger teenager, and realized, no, it's not. You go there, you clench up, you wear a suit of armor, you keep your face silent, you keep your comments, very, very neutral, not pointed at all, and then you get out of there before the knives come out.
Yeah, and you wear that outfit that you wear on a Sunday, which is your literal Sunday best, for that 2 hours that you're there, or 4 hours in your case that you're there, and it's like an old-fashioned form of Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm literally going to just put my best out here. I'm going to tell everything, everybody's fantastic and all the rest of it, and just for show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of just to be seen, to touch base with some people. You're keeping up appearances.
Yeah, and then again, man, the reason for that, we're going to church to keep up appearances because me in society and most of the people in society think that, oh, I'm a Christian, so I'm a good person. But I think that, from interacting with people online now, with a lot of things and politics and all the rest of it, I find that we're being very polarized. There is a very small section of the middle that's just striving to survive. And I mean with everything. But I find that a lot of people now, because of the information that's out there and the false information that can be out there to swing people one way, the good information to go the other way, and propaganda on both sides, people are becoming very, very polarized, and there's no real middle ground now.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to change or not either, but I kind of blame like the rise of like the quick take stuff. I think Twitter's improved, but like the idea behind that of people just giving their automatic feedback on something, hot takes and stuff like that. I think it's kind of strange that you end up getting some, you're almost at a disadvantage if you can't distill things into a hot take in this particular environment. And that mentality is going to lead to more polarization because it's just easier to go tribal.
Oh yeah, completely, 100%, man. Sure, just even look at the, not to say, mainstream media and all that crack, but if you look at places like Facebook and you look at the websites now, it's, we've cracked teleportation. No, they just maybe transferred one wee thing across, quantum entanglement. They didn't make Star Trek possible, but everybody clicks it because they're like, fuck, get the, no, it's clickbait, it's titles, and they twist it. Again, the information that they give out is very, very, vague, and I think the education lacks here again because they have to not necessarily dumb it down, but the people who are educated are just given what they're taking, and they don't make the extra step to go and look. As Godless Scummer mentioned the other day, the only thing that Wikipedia is good for is checking sources. You go to Wikipedia, then you go to the source. It's good for complementing stuff together, again with Google Scholar, but on a particular topic, that's what Wikipedia is good for. Not getting information, but check the sources. And people don't take that extra step because the education system says, here's information, this is what you're taught, now regurgitate it 6 months later onto a paper, please, and forget all about it. And anybody in authority can now do that. And the fact of the internet's here that you're given a voice. You can have 100,000 subscribers and tell people that the Anunnaki are real.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm ranting. I'm annoyed. It annoys me that when you're trying to talk to people, which brings me back to the point, how you can fucking do it, you deal with people who are shunned in the community. People who have these crazy ideas. People who, in my opinion, are ignorant to the point where they don't want to learn. Not ignorant as in stupid, but ignorant to the point where they don't want to learn.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's weird because, I don't think Veckel still is, but I know, Skylar Fiction, he used to be, he used to do that. You'd have the interviews with people that were just infuriating. Sky Out, Jesus is Lord,
Well, yeah, we call him Trolley. Jill is now known as Trolley here, and the other person who does an awful lot of bullshitting DD, he's Asshole 104, just for reference point.
Yeah. I did see that one with what's his username? Darth Dawkins Debunked.
Yes.
Yeah, I did watch that one. That was good. That was a good interview. And then I went to his. It took me a minute. I was actually I was kind of bleary-eyed at the time that I was looking it up, and I was like, well, this quiz is bullshit. I'm getting every question wrong, until I realized, like, oh, wait, I think that's the fucking point. Okay.
Oh, yes, that's what I did ask him in the quiz. I was like, do you see the scores? Do you see who wins? And he was like, don't need to. Everybody fails.
Yep, yeah, everything's a contradiction. It was like,
yeah, we should definitely do that some Saturday night. I think that would be fun. But, yeah, why do you keep going back, right? Like, now, I know you've changed your name a couple of times, and I know you're making reference to Jay, because Jay might be a wee bit more, his channel's a wee bit more known, but, like, when I search Jay Pasick on my account, the reference point of what I've seen of him in the algorithm, it goes Jay Pasick, subscribe, and underneath it goes Jesus is Lord, Trolley, subscribe. You know, they're synonymous with each other in the algorithm.
Yeah. And Jay calls Trolley his muse. So Trolley is to Jay what G-Man is to Dragnot, I think, at this point. Even though I don't think Jay doesn't ever do a kind of like like Drag. He'll sit down and do a 2-hour video just line by line breaking down how stupid or ignorant G-Man is being. I don't know that Jay's ever done that with Jesus is Lord. Excuse me, Trolley. We should probably do that sometime. I don't know why we haven't. But then again, usually what ends up happening with those guys is like with like Drag and G-Man, there's a lot of personal stuff in there because they've got a lot of history and a lot of drama, so they can talk about that quite a bit. But with Jesus is Lord, it's almost all rhetoric and talking points. And so if you have a disagreement with him, what he'll end up doing is that about 24 hours later, you see him getting ready to do a video on the topic that you were just like complaining about. And he goes off and he delivers his like rhetorical nonsense.
You see, this is my point, right? And as much as I have blown smoke up your ass from the start of this is finished, and even the description forever will say you're an unknown gem in the community.
That's the first time I've ever been called a gem of any kind. So thank you.
In saying that, man, why the fuck do you keep giving the cunt fucking content? You know, you just bring the asshole on. And he is literally doing it to be a troll, in my opinion. Maybe brainwashed or whatever. But as you say, you talk about a topic. So he then creates a video. So you then create a back and forth. And you get him on along with maybe Praise or whoever this smoky saint that I've started to hear of quite recently. It's, you just bring these people on and you hammer the point through. And you keep hammering it and hammering it and hammering it. And you just make fantastic points. You just destroy them in philosophy. You just destroy them in logic and all the rest of it. And then you just delete the video. You know, if for anything you just do it for the audience, but there is no audience because it's gone. If you get what I mean. I feel like it's wasted. I feel like you're wasted talent.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I did delete a lot of videos, I think. I've deleted a few. But most of the only one that I've done with this new channel, the only one that I don't think I have on there right now is a long one that I did where I had Barney Tearspell on and Jill came on to talk with him. And Barney's
fantastic.
Yeah, Barney's great. So it was a great conversation. The worst thing about it was that I got really, really hammered during the thing, and I kept stepping on Barney's feet while he's trying to dance with Trolley. And he was getting noticeably irritated with me. I was just being a complete idiot. So I kind of archived that one. It's just listed as private because I've been meaning to go back and like, okay, Barney and Jill went back and forth on this long bit, and I want to pull that out so that I can put that on there and put that out because that stuff between Barney and Jesus is Lord, that stuff's good. I can get rid of I already embarrassed myself, so I don't care if it's there, but it's just a giant waste of time. It's like,
I am telling you now, man, right? And just to talk YouTube shop, if you literally created a channel called Dickhead Christians Spout Stupid Stuff and then only uploaded 15-20 minute segments of your 8-hour conversations, that channel would be doing better than any channel in the community whatsoever. I'm fucking telling you now, because people like that sort of shit, right? This is the thing. This is why we're doing the open hangouts. This is why I wanted to, I've been nagging you for an interview for ages. You know, I wanted to have you and Jay on because you are very good at this. And I think that we can do it for the audience. As much as platforming, you know, in inverted commas, platforming stupidity is not something that we want to do. I think the capability that you have, the knowledge that you have, the background that you have, the recall that you have on the information is definitely worth screaming and stupid for the benefit of the audience.
Okay, that's encouraging. Thanks. I mean, my biggest thing at this point is that I don't. Most of the time that I end up talking to any of them, it's on somebody else's channel. Like I won't watch one of Jill's hangouts just to watch it because they take too damn long. But when he opens it up to the room and he's been talking about some crazy conspiracy theory, I'll maybe go in then and then try to hoof him in the front butt, so to speak. But it doesn't always work. I'll get in there and then he'll usually kick me out or something, mute me, and then he'll throw me in the backstage and then bring me back in to like poke me some more and miss the point. So yeah, most of my time is spent on that. I don't make enough of my own content, probably.
Well, it's not even that, man. You don't need to. Like, I'd be desperately honest with you now, again, talking YouTube shop. There's at least 5 extra viewers tonight here that aren't usually here. So, you have some fans. I think Red Fang's been here once or twice. I don't think Illuminati's been here at all. There's people in the chat that are here for you. So you do have fans. There's people that respect you. There's people that appreciate you. And I'm a wee bit nervous and rambly because, yeah, as I say...
I think between Illuminati, Red Fang, and Benghazi, if he's still here, they probably have a bet as to whether or not I'll get drunk and pass out during the stream.
Well, I have a wee bit of vodka and Red Bull here, so we're doing all right, man. We're an Irish man drinking vodka and Red Bull. We're doing okay.
Oh, okay. I don't have anything to drink other than water, so yeah.
Well, there you go. So you can't get drunk.
Yeah. It doesn't mean I can't fall asleep. I've actually fallen asleep without drinking. If the conversation goes on long enough, I might just nod off. But usually that'll happen in larger groups. If I'm out of the conversation for too long and haven't had enough sleep, I will just slip off to dreamland.
Yeah, I'm not going to totally pick on anyone in the chat. Cough, cough, critical cripple. But he was critical snorer for at least a week for that exact reason. He wasn't drinking or fuck all or anything. It was just like 3 a.m. and he's on stream and we're talking and all of a sudden there's snoring and it's like, what's that? Everybody quiet? Is Dave asleep?
No, I've done that too. I'm pretty sure I've been called out for snoring.
Well, no, I don't mean to take attention away from yourself because anything that Jay did, you made him do it because, I'm going to give you credit for converting him. But, the chats on his channel go for 8 hours. The people that do come in, they go for a long time. And
I don't know
it's definitely possible that you would be falling asleep after 8 hours.
I don't even know how he does those. I've never hosted anything that long. I think the longest one I did was probably last night. I think I was on for 2.5 hours straight with Quentin Phipps. I think Todd was in there for a little bit. But yeah, it was mostly just with just a couple people. That was the longest I've ever done one, and then I've been on. I think I've been on one. I think the longest I stayed on one was 4.5 hours, and it was one of my brother's massive ones that went on for like 10 fucking hours or something like that.
Yeah, I think he was trying to break the record. I mentioned, I think it was in the live chat where One Way was giving him shit because One Way likes his let's have 10-hour streams.
Yeah, he and Praise both kind of do that. So yeah, and Jay can hang with that. He can do that. I kind of like to keep my stuff a little shorter. Like I thought the one that I did last night that was over 2 hours was too long. Like that was maybe we were on for longer than that, but yeah, normally I wouldn't do that. But
yeah, who out of all the people in the community, right, of the nice people, the interesting people, the people that you talk to for the audience, them people, out of all of them, do you think they're all trolls, or do you think they're brainwashed, inverted commas, not being an asshole, but or do you think that there's any that possibly there's a chance with?
In terms of like them changing their mind later?
Well, maybe not changing their minds full blown from going Christian to atheist, but at least becoming a half decent Christian.
Well, then they'd ask you, how do you define what a Christian is? How dare you?
Well, what I find is very funny whenever I ask that question to Christians is they ring off maybe 3-4 really important things, and then without even mentioning them to you, I generally turn around and go, is that not humanism?
Yeah. Yep. The other thing, thanks Spooky for putting my channel up there. I think that's the second time.
Well, I didn't put it in the link because I didn't know if you wanted to or not. You like to remain an unknown gem, a wee diamond in the...
Fine, it's fine either way. I appreciate this being on. Yeah, whatever you want to put in the... I mean, you called me an unknown gem. I mean, that's very flattering. Suspiciously flattering, too. Because people are going to be... I think people are going to be disappointed they start hearing me talk to some of these guys.
That's fine, man, and I am 100% straight. Me and Amanda have a great sex relationship. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I think the one that I frequently get kind of like, I almost get like kind of conspiracy theory doubts about Jesus is Lord, like because of the amount of bullshit that he claims to believe.
Yeah.
About every topic.
That's why he's trolling.
I've never seen a person who's... I have only given him credit about being right about one thing in the 18 months to 2 years that I've been acquainted with him on YouTube. Just one thing, and it's by his...
18 months? You've put up with him for 18 months. You have the patience of a fucking saint.
Yeah, I take breaks though, and I call him a lot. I mean, I'm pretty abusive with him too. You know.
Good.
Yell at him and insult him. That helps. That leads to a longer lasting relationship. We know what we are to each other. Committed enemies. So it's good.
No, but I commend you for 18 months. You know, dealing with these sort of people is difficult.
I think what actually kind of encourages me to do it is I'm wondering when I will hear them. I mean, if anybody asks, like, why do you keep talking to them? Because I'm waiting for contradictions. That's what I'm looking for. I want to push at them because they're making really bold claims about how right they are and how correct this is, and this is how things should be. And when I start asking questions about the foundations of that stuff, usually they fall apart. And I don't get tired of that because with the amount, it's my interest in breaking that argument down is directly proportionate to the level of confidence they come at me with.
Right.
You know, if they're just pushing this whole pile of rhetoric at me, I'm like, no, you don't have an argument for that. And I'm like, but I do have some questions that I don't think you can clarify, and that's going to call a lot of this stuff into question. That's usually when I start to see them get a little wobbly. So, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, no, I can totally get that. It's very satisfying in any sort of debate format, you know, between is the sky blue and is the sky purple. If someone screams at you that the sky's purple and they think they've got a gotcha, then being able to point out that they don't is very satisfying. The reason being because they're coming at you with a baseball bat trying to knock you out, and David and Goliath style, you just knock them down with one wee small... I can get that. I can understand that. Yeah. Which brings me back to the point where I'm going to make the statement again. You're fucking wasted, man. Because these people do it for shits and giggles for the same reason that you have, which is to shoot you down on your logic, your philosophy, your knowledge of the Bible. But it's the people in the audience that we're trying to maybe not change, but to at least leave thinking.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that is. I guess I didn't. Yeah, I think I probably do get into it more, thinking that, you know, it's more like an online chat, and it's just me and whoever these people, you know, whoever these guys are that I'm talking to.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about only having one screen. You just see the conversation that's happening. When you have fucking 3 and 4, you're like, oh shit, everybody's looking. Yeah. That probably does change your perspective quite a bit. I mean, I usually keep the top chat from you know, the YouTube and the YouTube. Here, man. I'm going, this channel will be going 1 year on my birthday, which is the 1st of August, right? If you're willing and up to calling round. 1st of August, end of the month. The channel will be a year old and I'll be 37. And I still can't be in a hangout by myself. Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I think that's probably admirable. I mean, I think it's kind of weird. Like I've started... That was the hardest thing for me to do. I think that's why I avoided doing my own videos for the longest time. I was always kind of nervous that I don't have a problem like kind of rambling off in my own head while I'm, you know, doing busy work or doing chores, something like that. You know, I can go on these own tangents on my own. And I didn't think, like, if I do that verbally in front of a webcam and post it on the internet, that anybody's going to give a damn. But, you know, or if it would even be worth doing, because I think there are people that are really good at doing that. I think Drag is really good at being able to do that, and I wouldn't put myself in the same category because he's got a lot more experience and a lot more knowledge about the community and stuff, so he can sort of truck.
Well, you see, you can change different phrases that you're saying and mean the exact same thing, but I would still, I'd rather listen to a good conversation with yourself. And maybe not trolly and maybe not praise, but, you know, Doubting Thomas or someone like that, you know, and, excuse me, there is Christians that come into your hangouts and I can sit and listen for 2 hours straight. No bother. 100% 2 hours straight. Absolute fantastic because it's a great conversation. But then you don't get the fucking gotcha. Oh, I'm trying to, you know, talk you out.
And out of the entire group, I think all of these guys are, again, with the exception of maybe Trolley, I think most of them genuinely believe what they believe. Although I have caught people like Praise, I Am That I Am. I've caught him doing some stuff that I thought was less than honest. I'm pretty sure
as much as I have tolerance for that man, and I'm going to say this now because he took my fucking spanner away maybe about a month ago, the bastard. Big hugs. Praise, you're not a bastard. I'm only joking. But he took my spanner away. I'm not blue in his channel anymore. So I'm going to say... But... you know, there's people like that... no, I'm not going to say it. Go on ahead, Jeff. Continue on. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to be nice.
I was going to say, like, I mean, within that group, though, like, I don't doubt that, like... I don't doubt One Way's knowledge. Like, I don't doubt the fact that he hasn't at least read this stuff and that he studied it. So if he's bringing me something, if I disagree with it, I think it's a dishonest, disagreement. Either he's talking about something that I think he's getting wrong, or I think it might be irrelevant, or whatever. In Praise's case, I think for the most part he is coming.
We lost it
from a place that's based on what he personally thinks. And
One Way,
like this one guy, Todd, frequently mixed up.
Personally, I find One Way infuriating in the nicest, absolute possible way. like, don't get me wrong. Whenever I first started my Discord and opened it up, like my Discord will now be 2 years this October, so it's going a wee while. And I opened it up to Christians, opened it up to other people. And One Way was one of the first to come in. We had fantastic conversations. We would have personal VCs on my lunch where he would say this and I'd say that, and we'd have a back and forth. No recordings, no nothing. Just two genuine guys just talking about shit. And the reference point that I use for this channel is an Irish pub on a Friday night with a pool room out the back that guys can talk shit over and get angry and piss each other off and call each other assholes. But when you come back next Friday, the same cunt will buy you a pint. And that was originally introduced from One Way. You know, that's the way I came across to him. That's what we were discussing with the channel before it happened. And really nice guy, really intelligent guy, goes into an awful lot of detail, which I like. And then what annoyed me is we had literally spent 45 minutes in a private VC discussing something, and then he went into the general chat after that and totally disregarded everything I said to make a show in front of people. Now, I don't know what the circumstances is, and I'm not going to call him out for being a showboat, but it was fucking disingenuous, and I lost the rag, man. You know, yeah, it was me. I fucked him from a height. I VC'd him, I texted him. There was a lot of swear words. There was a lot of expletives. I was not a fucking happy bunny. And a lot of them people are like that, but...
Yeah, I can understand that. I remember at one point he kind of got under my skin a little bit because I was in a top chat for one of Charlie McTrollord's things. You know, Jill was going on about something, and what was the video called? Oh, it was the title was "If You Don't Work, You Don't Eat," right? And that for people that don't know, that is basically a generic appeal to purity fallacy, right? It does not follow that if one does not work, one does not eat, because there's plenty of examples of people who do work and don't eat. And there's plenty of examples of people who don't work and still get food.
Yes,
so
it's called the poor and socialism. Oh.
I made some jokey comment to somebody in that thing, and one way pounces on it and calls it a fallacy. I think he said like affirming the consequent or something like that. And I said, you realize what I was saying to him was a joke, right? And he's like, oh, I hope you weren't trying to actually use logic there for a second. I was like, I think it's interesting that you called me out that fast. Your buddy has a generic appeal to purity as a fallacy, as his title, and you haven't said a word of correction to him. So this is something that does kind of bother me, and this is why I respect this one guy out of anybody in the kind of the theist groups, because he is associated with some of those guys. He goes into their channels, they go into his. He does say things that challenge them, and he will accept being challenged by them. Mm-hmm. And I always get the impression that he's being honest about it, like he's honestly thinking it through, and he will probably reach a conclusion eventually. And it's probably not going to be exactly the same, which gives me even more proof, that encourages me that I think this is his own thing. This is his own conclusion. Yes. So in that case, props to him for being able to do that. But I've seen examples from those other three where they're either not willing to call each other out because the other one is in the process of, quote, owning the libs, or mauling the atheist, or whatever the hell else they think it is. My team is in the process of winning. I'm here to cheer them on, not call them to account for using fallacious reasoning, bad arguments, pissy rhetoric, this kind of stuff. And that ticked me off. I'm like, that right there, that's hypocritical. You should not be engaging in that.
Yes, again, man, it boils down to the character of the person. And I'll say some nice things about Tug because he's a genuine good guy. He'll admit when he's wrong. Yeah, and it takes an awful lot to do that. You'll come at some of them people in the community and they will, they double down. They do a Trump. They double down. This is right and that's right. And look at this one particular sentence I said that reinforces my point, and this, that, and the other. Where Tug will more than happily put his hands up and go, look, man, I'm only learning. This. And people again will give a shout out for Spartan Theology, hopefully here on Thursday. A very genuine man that's actually going forward and doing the scholarly, he's putting the fucking time and effort in to check this out, to back it up. And another man who is very open to a conversation, who's very open and genuine and will go, fuck that up. Oh, missed. Yeah. And is open to change.
I think it's a sign of maturity too, because I remember talking to a friend of mine. He's also my boss, but he and I have been discussing religion and politics. Oftentimes we discuss them at work, which probably should have gotten both of us written up at least a couple of times by now, but we've been lucky. But I've watched him go from being a young Earth creationist, evangelical, reformed, 5-point tulip kind of Christian, to now he's into guided meditation, and I think he's an agnostic in the 7 years that I've known him. So I might have helped deconvert him too. Yeah.
I have to say, man, when this channel was starting out, and I feel a wee bit bad now because you're making me feel guilty, but another shout out for Tug, one of the friendliest Christians in the community. Whenever I first started the channel out, the very first interview I had in this channel as a test was my tech guys. The actual very first formal interview, like talkie, like this, that, and other, that we're doing now, was Tug. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then whenever I was bored and had nothing to do and was alone and just wanted to hang with someone and wanted to just play games, Tug always jumped up, and he even went and bought the same game as me. Now, it's not expensive, and it's called Blood and Bacon, where you get to shoot a lot of pigs with machine guns. But
I've seen you play that, yeah.
Yeah, every time I'm playing it, Tug's playing it. I haven't played it since I played it with Tug. It's like me and Tug's game, and a fucking decent person.
Yeah.
You would never reach out and ask praise or Trolley to play a game, play anything with you. Never mind tic-tac-toe or fucking snakes and ladders.
But I think Tug and I only really ever had like one legit. I mean, we disagree about certain things theologically, obviously, but I think I only ever had one disagreement, and that was during the whole. I think it propped up again when Skylar Fiction kind of ambushed One Way, or not One Way, Praise. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Skylar and John
brought him on and didn't have him on. Yeah.
So yeah, when he was belly aching about that, the just rank hypocrisy and double standards that Praise was putting out there. And one way was even coming to his defense and using some really tortured logic to try to justify what he did then and what he did now, and why Skylar somehow their behavior was worse. That one got, and Todd was sort of like, I think Todd had kind of come in on the side like, hey, people say horrible shit on the internet, it doesn't matter. And I was, from my point of view, it was like, look, I remember back when this death threat happened, I was listening to the live stream as it was happening, and listened to Praise threaten my brother for no reason, as far as I could tell, because someone else had said something to offend to offend a friend of his, and then got to watch for the next 6 months while he buried the evidence, and then was gaslighting everyone, not just people that were atheists. He was gaslighting his own fellow Christians about the facts of the matter, and then trying to lead Nicola and Jay down this primrose path of this other Jay.
I was going to say that. You mean Jay and other Jay, not Jay and Nicola. It's Jay and the other Jay.
The other guy that he talked about. So I mean, it was like, look, it's more than just the death threat. The cover-up is often worse than the crime, and in this case, the cover-up was fucking ridiculous.
Oh, it was so stupid.
And then acting like there was nothing wrong with that. Like, okay, so there's nothing wrong with bearing false witness and lying. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not a Christian, but I've read somewhere in the Bible where it's against both those things. But that's too general. I shouldn't say that. But.
Well, I didn't have many questions for tonight, but one question, the very first question that I had at the very top, Jeff, you, I would consider, as I've said earlier, I'm not going to blow any more smoke up your ass, a decent guy at what you do. But you're also on the outside. On the outside, looking in at, those communities. You know that there is cliques. We're a wee bit high schooly, and we all have our friends, and we've got our BFFs and all that crack.
Sure, yeah.
But I know that your friend group, your BFFs and all that, is slightly, outside of the community. And there's no one that's ever going to say that what you do for views or subs or any of that. Because, no, you don't promote your channel and Jay deletes his every now and again. So there's definitely, there's none of that.
Yeah.
But the point, what is the biggest problem that you see from the outside looking in at the content that's out there at the minute? Because that's what we're talking about. You don't see me in real life. You don't see Dave in real life. You don't see Trolley in real life. You only see the content and what they decide to put out there. What do you see as the biggest problem, the biggest barrier to furthering the conversation?
I think a lot of it, probably the biggest problem is ego, which I think it's a weird thing to see happen or maybe it's not. Maybe it's a factor of social media, but. And it's not something I'm immune to either. But the idea that we're going to be on here, and I get it for some people if they're trying to do a show or they're trying to create something. I can get them being kind of defensive of it or anything like that. But I think a good example would be somebody like Dr. Josh and Megan, right? She's sort of I think was sort of the one that pushed the idea of doing this ancient Near Eastern educational YouTube channel to explain ancient Near Eastern scholarship to lay people.
Are you married, Jeff? Do you have a girlfriend?
What's that?
Are you married? Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't.
Oh, but you're not lucky enough to know that every man has a stronger woman behind him.
Right. No. Yeah. So I always think it's interesting. People will call Dr. Josh Digital Hammurabi. It's actually that's. If you're going to call either of them Digital Hammurabi, probably it should be Megan.
And he'll say that every time, and he's right. Yeah.
But I mean, that to me is a good idea for a YouTube channel. You got two people very highly educated in this particular field, and they want to use a YouTube channel. They want to use social media as an outreach for educating lay people, right? And to provide some concise educational stuff that will kind of excite people into thinking about this. If they want to get into the weeds and stuff, that then they'll Dr. Josh and Megan are happy to point them in the direction of here's some resources. Go do some digging if this is firing you up.
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. The connection that they have, even though they have 20, 30, 40,000 subscribers now, the reason that I have so much respect for Dr. Josh and Megan, and Manda's in the chat, she'll even tell you that, you know, I wouldn't be here doing this channel without the shout outs that they've given me, you know, and Josh has given us his number and stuff. We've direct lines with him and all. I cannot talk to that man. I am so intimidated because he has done so much and so much respect for what he does. Like, I remember watching the 1000k hangout that they had, and you know, Megan shouted penis I think about 50 times. They were both semi-drunk and there was about 40 hats pulled out of the cupboard, and they interacted with everybody in the chat. They acknowledged everyone in the chat. They're genuine, and what they do and what they're doing for the community is genuine.
I think that their channel kind of represents some of the best of what YouTube can be. I think probably what I think would be the biggest problem is what's happened with Steve McRae, where it's become entirely about him personally. It's become entirely about his ego, and it seems to me, I don't know too much about like everything that's happened since the Non Sequitur show blew up, other than just some of the broader strokes of what's happened legally. But it seems like the people that came and like supported him, that reinforced this zero-sum thinking that he had, where it was all about there are people that are with me and against me, and there's very much a cult of personality. I think that kind of stuff, it's very easy for that to happen in YouTube, and to see somebody, it seems to me that somebody like Steve McRae is like willingly sprinting towards that. I think that's something that needs to be resisted, and something more like kind of educational outreach or is probably better. The advantage, I think, the one thing that Josh and Megan don't really have to contend with is that they're able to present from their expertise to the audience. Mm-hmm. And I think that gives them some remove from that. If they're trying to do something like what you're doing, or like what Skylar Fiction's doing, where, hey, I'm going to have some people on and we're going to have a conversation and things might get controversial, that stuff gets exhausting. And so the parameters, and that's sort of how Steve started, you know, with the hangouts and the debates and the long hours and stuff like that. So yeah, to me, I think if it turns into, if like your YouTube life kind of turns into like personality politics and about a lot of personal drama, then, you know, if you're doing that for entertainment, if that's to entertain yourself. Okay,
well, you see, that's the thing. No matter what the channel is, if you're doing shit for drama, it's gonna die, because nobody gives two flying fucks 6 months down the line about what happened 6 months before. 6 months before, that personal drama was personal to them. You're gonna have to keep jumping between this, that, and the other. And not that I'm gonna go so forward as saying I'm trying to make this an educational channel, because fuck no, that's definitely not gonna happen. Check out Manda's for that, you know, climate change and all. But I want this to be what I'm discussing with you, man, to have people like yourself on, to try and get people like Jay on, to try and get more people who are open to putting and having this conversation. I was going to say putting up is stupid. And having this conversation, not for the benefit of the person you're talking to, but for the benefit of the audience, for them to leave, to try and bring something forward that they can leave. Now, there's people in the community, as you say, like Digital Hammurabi. We have our own little bug specialist. BrainBug's not here tonight, but he specialises in bugs. Just happens to be an atheist.
Yeah.
You know, and channels like that want to bring the education forward. I hope here to be some sort of a hub, to be, I wouldn't say a safe zone, because if you're fucking stupid and be an asshole, I'm going to tell you you're stupid and an asshole, but a safe zone for communication. I feel that society as a whole, the community as a whole, has lost the ability to discuss things. You're polarized. It's accepted. That's the way it is. I don't think it should be.
I think, I mean, kind of piggyback, like, I don't know everything that there is to know about Stephen. I knew that when I don't really know him personally. I don't know that I ever talked to him. I know he used to have conversations with my brother quite a bit, and he and my brother used to have quite a few back and forths, at least through email and through comments. So I don't, but some of the stuff that came up with him, at least in terms of, I think that stuff actually starts to hobble, because I think Steve is an intelligent guy, but I think that if the drama and the fighting, it becomes too personal, it starts to hobble people's critical thinking. and hell, I've even seen that in myself. You know, if you get personally involved in some kind of antagonism with someone that you're arguing with on a live chat, and you can actually, at least I can, kind of feel my rational capacities diminishing and get replaced by the fact, so like, I just want to insult this person now. Like, I don't know how else I'm going to like make a point. The only person that I know that can kind of walk that line, weirdly enough, even though a lot of his content doesn't really do much for me, is Drag Not Silvis' stuff. Like he can do a 2-hour explainer going through like one of G-Man's videos, and it's still kind of slightly educational because he'll point out like, hey, hear what he's doing here. This is why this is like not. It's
yeah. No, I can get that, Max. I don't want to be the person who goes, do you know you've just done a fallacy, because you have to spend 20 minutes explaining the fallacy. I'd rather be able to acknowledge it, and then what I find in an argument is the best thing to do, rather than telling someone where they're wrong, is to allow them to come to the conclusion. You drop hints, you drop a breadcrumb, and you'll spend 45 minutes talking to someone without screaming the point at them so that they'll get to the point themselves.
Yeah, or at least you hope to. Now, the only time that doesn't work is with Trolley, because you do that and he starts getting the idea that he's being led, he'll just say like, oh yeah, well, you kill babies. And then he will derail even his own chain of thought just to keep you from like trying to get him into a corner. I know, because I've had conversations with him about grace and soteriology and other kind of theological topics, and he can't. It's just I've trapped him several times, but then he'll just appeal to he'll just make some kind of random statement, like, well, the Bible says so, or Jesus is master, or something like that. Like
you just say, every time someone says, so the Bible tells me so, I just see Paul and Gia now. That we gif.
Yeah, and it's not a good claim to make. Saying that the Bible says so is a really that's a really fraught thing to say, because the Bible says a lot of stuff, and the different books in there, some of them don't agree with each other. So
no, that's the whole fucking book.
Yeah.
I mean, how many contradictions is there in the Bible? Has anyone seen BibleVids.co or .com or whatever it is? Does it lovely graphically.
I haven't seen that, no.
Oh, have you not seen they have the Bible in a timeline? Like a graph, in a timeline, and they have different colored lines for every connection or contradiction. So this one's a copy of this, you get a blue line and like a big curve, and this one's a copy of this, you get like a purple line. Oh, this one's a contradiction, you get a red line.
Oh, nice.
It's very graphically beautiful because it just looks like the entire mountain ranges in the earth combined. There's that many bars, that many connections, that many contradictions. It's
yeah. There's stuff coming and going all over the place with it. And I think that's the part that keeps me kind of talking to guys like Trolley and even One Way and Praise, is that, and even in One Way's case, like you get more detail out of One Way, but then ultimately if you keep pushing on something that's kind of theological based, and I haven't talked to him as much as I think my brother has, or probably even you have, but it'll end up getting real simple. Like the pushback will be on something. No. Jesus is Lord. Nope. God saves. This is how it has to be. It's like, okay, we talked for an hour and a half about all these theological distinctions and stuff, and it basically just comes down to people are shit, and they need to be saved by a supreme being, and that supreme being's Jesus, the end. Like, okay.
See, again, and I don't mean to bash One Way, but we're going to focus on the same thing that I did earlier, so it's maybe the same bash. But what really annoyed me is because we spent, as I say, maybe so long talking, at least a good 10-15 minutes of that was my explanation for why he was like, well, you don't understand this, Robbie. You haven't read this. Have you seen, what do you call him, Hayes or Mark Hayes? Have you read this? Have you done this? And I'm like, no. And he was like, yeah, but you could educate yourself in this way and you could see a different point. And I'm like, no. The point is, man, there is no point in me reading these books because, I left Christianity when I was 11. Then you do the anti-theist. I went goth, white makeup, black nails, black lipstick, the whole lot, long coat, all that. Yeah. And then, but regardless of what your journey, I've spent 10 years going over this. This is why I'm here. This is what brought me in. This is an interest to me. I've came to my conclusion. So there's no point in me reading a 2-hour book, or a book that's 200 pages long, that tries to put a certain point across, because at the very end of it, I'm going to disagree with it because I've already set my context. And I'm not going to say like a Christian, I've decided God of the gaps and I have to make things fit. But I'll happily read that guy's point of view, and I'll happily read his, what he's putting across. But I already know, because it's a book written by a Christian to try and convince Christians of Christianity, that I'm going to disagree with it. So there's no point. What I want is to talk to One Way, get his interpretation of that book, compact it down to a 40-minute conversation and see what he puts across for the benefit of the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it gets weird. It's weirdly dismissive. Sometimes it's not. Like if you tell somebody like they're just disputing a fact of nature or something like that, you can tell them like, look, go, I didn't say anything controversial here. Go Google this basic fact I pointed out. But when somebody's contesting, like if you're having a conversation with somebody and they're like, well, you need to go watch Michael Heiser's video on angels or whatever.
That's the guy, Michael Heiser. I am so sick and fucking tired of hearing that man's name. I'll go and no, go on. I'm rambling. He annoys me because people throw that at you.
But I mean, what they don't point you to is like they won't point you to a biblical scholar that would disagree with Michael Heiser. Right? Like they're not going to give you like nobody. If you're having issues with Christianity, I don't think anybody in that particular group, and most of the people that are representing Christianity in YouTube that are interested in engaging in these kinds of debates, they're not going to tell you to go read Pete Enns. They're not going to. The guy wrote a book called like The Curse of Certainty or something like that. He's practically a pariah when it comes to like if you're conservative evangelical, you will not like Pete Enns. It's pretty much a guarantee. Yeah. No one's going to tell somebody who is either on the fence or now an atheist like you or me, oh really? Okay, you don't like this kind of Christianity. Maybe go talk to that guy. Instead, they'll hand you somebody like Michael Heiser, who is just going to try to browbeat you with with a lot of biblical esoterica. And don't get me wrong, he's educated, but then he's essentially preaching stuff at you. Mm-hmm. And it's probably not, if you have any kind of upbringing in the church, if you're no longer convinced of this Christianity, a sermon isn't going to bring you back.
No. Now, from a personal point of view, I know an old earth creationist from the last depot that I used to work in. I've stayed 2 hours after work to have conversations with this guy. I'm not going to repeat myself. It's been mentioned earlier in the channel, but there's a history there. His son and his wife won't come in anymore because the debates get that heated between me and him. All right, I had to go and apologize to customers one time because an abortion debate, while he was on the way to the new Northern Ireland abortion clinic with a picket sign and fucking leaflets and all. But anyway, it gets heated. And whenever we had a discussion, because he came across to me and he said, the apostles died for their beliefs. And he spent a good while trying to put this across. Why would you die for something you didn't believe in? They must have seen this guy and that, and the other. And I said to him about 9/11 and these people, and they believe. So his retort to me was, well, they didn't witness it. So I was like, right, let's leave it at that. I then went home, and within 2 weeks, Apologia had released a video. And again, I'll credit Apologia for this. Sean McDowell and the Fate of the Apostles is a book that is written by a pastor or a priest. This guy's, I'm really Christian, super Christian, and looks at the history from an objective point of view and what it is. And I give the guy a digital copy of the book, and I had a digital copy of the book. I got to the 4th chapter, didn't need no reading more. Because it literally said in it, the 4th chapter, I think like the 2nd page down, that was it. It was a full-blown statement that was nearly word for word. They did not die for what they believed in. It was... Yeah. And that's the best way to put it across is like, right, you believe, you're a Christian. Let's get a Christian's point of view and put that across. Rather than Mike Heiser, that's what I came across with him.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be fine if somebody like referenced them. Like, I mean... But what I think is weird is like if they say like, oh, Michael Heiser, I'm like, oh, okay, well here, why don't I give you this quote from Bart Ehrman and then watch them run for the door? Oh, Bart Ehrman, yeah. I mean, as soon as you bring his name up, they're like, yeah, he's a liar and a fraud and a cheat. Like, okay, but he's also a fairly renowned biblical scholar.
Just wanted to shout out and say I love you.
Disagree with him, fine, but. Like, if you're going to raise me one Michael Heiser, I'm going to see that and
Did we lose you?
Raise you, one Bart Ehrman. Now, what did we do? Yeah, it did buffer there. That could be mine. I've got kind of unreliable wiring in this building, so my.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. We'll just ignore it and go on ahead. That's what we usually do until someone in the live chat screams at me and tags me and goes, "Robbie, you fucked up." It happened last week. I went like 5 minutes muted. You know. No, but you're saying, man, yeah, you're throwing scholars out is a very good reference point, and it's okay. I'm not going to scream and shout about the fallacy of what is it? You'll know better than me.
Appeal to authority.
Appeal to authority, right? And appeal to authority, I'm not going to shout out and say that's a fallacy, or appeal to authority, or as I'm trying to shift the burden to someone else. But when it comes to these things, it's not worthwhile. And it's better to get someone's point of view from their side than it is from our side, if you understand, to try and build that bridge.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just checking the video.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I have it open here. We're good.
Well, the critical cribble written, someone tell him he's muted, he won't believe me. So I wondered if he's just like pulling your chain.
Oh, no, Dave's been doing that because, audio issues last week, installed a new set of speakers and fucked up. And as I say, was muted for 5 minutes. So ever since then, Dave's being an asshole. And every time at the start of the chat or the start of the stream, I'll go, is audio and video okay? And Dave will come in and go, can't hear you, you're muted. And I rely on the other people in the chat coming back and telling me the truth, because Dave's an asshole. So, Jeff, ideas for your channel. Are you going to continue to be more of a stream slut? Or is there any ideas for any plans for yourself?
So I've been called an unknown gem and now a stream slut. This has gone.
There's nothing wrong with liking sex, man. You know, we all love a good hot Mormon cuddle.
I've been thinking about maybe. I've been trying to interview a couple more people. I sent out an email. I wanted to interview Skylar Fiction, because I'd interviewed his partner in crime, Dr. Josh, and I kind of wanted to do an interview with Skylar just to kind of talk about, because Skylar's been in the YouTube game for a long time, so I kind of wanted to talk to him.
I seen a stream about 3 months ago. He's going to start a weed channel.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was out the back of his own house sitting and just chilling outside, and I don't know if he's deleted it, but he was just talking shit for about 20 minutes, and he was mentioning maybe starting a weed channel.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, I kind of wanted to do that. There was, I was thinking about trying to do like a series, because there's one YouTuber, I think her YouTube name is Gutless Gibbon. Usually she shows up as Erica.
I can't get hold of Erica. I can't find her email, and you can't message her unless you message back. And the only people that I know that have connections to them, I'm not connected enough to ask.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to do, like, I wanted to start like a series of arguments where I was going to ask Dr. Josh and Megan if they would take the time, if they had the time, if they would do a quick one where we could kind of go over like what they think, kind of like do a series where you sit down with some people who are pretty knowledgeable in their field, and then ask them to give like some recommendations, like, hey, if you want to, what do you think people should read or expose themselves to? Kind of like give a syllabus or a little like a coursework guide. What are the things that you'd probably want them to read and get into, to kind of like, I mean, they're obviously not going to know everything, but they'd have a good grounding in that particular topic, a good frame of reference. Like, how would you guys get somebody started? Because there's always tons of information, lots of resources, but it's like, okay, well, if you had to narrow this down to like 5 to 10 selections, what do you think would be the most beneficial for people as lay people just getting into it to kind of read and get their feet wet? And I was interested in doing that because I'd seen her a couple of times in Modern Day Debate, Erica. I think she's really good at breaking down what is really complicated in terms of like evolutionary biology and making it very simple for people, including. And
not only that, man, it's entertaining. Like, I don't even need to know what's going on in her video. I want to click the thumbnail. Yeah. She puts an off. The point I'm making is she's entertaining, she's educated, she puts an awful lot of effort into it. It's not just... Yeah.
She's enthusiastic about it. You can tell she has a real love for the subject. She has a good understanding of it. And so, like, if I was going to start a series where I was going to ask people about this kind of stuff, I'd want to get in touch with her and be like, hey, you want to do like a 45-minute, hour-long one where you kind of like, from your perspective, somebody who's not going to go and get a degree in molecular biology, evolutionary biology, whatever, what are some things that they should read? What are some essentials that you think that they should be exposed to just to have kind of a baseline scientific literacy, going into topics like this? And I don't know, I just thought those would be kind of helpful because it gives some of them, it gives experts like them an opportunity to kind of reflect on the stuff that is available out there for lay people, but maybe kind of winnow out all the side stuff. Because it can be pretty daunting. You start looking at that stuff and you just, I just want a couple, 3 selections that are going to give me a good comprehensive overview of the topic so that when I hear people talking about this, I'm not lost.
Well, totally to jump on that and be channel orientated, giving the benefit to people and giving them the opportunity to talk to people who are smart and famous and all the rest of it. Become a MathPig Patreon. You get preference on after parties if you're a Patreon. You'll definitely get in. Yeah, you want to meet Aaron Ra and say hello. There you go.
Yeah, how many times has Aaron Ra been on your channel?
Aaron's only ever been on. Well, there's the 2 videos, but it was one night.
Okay.
He didn't wish fucking happy birthday to me, but he did wish happy birthday to Critical Cripple. He did a personal video for Critical Cripple. But the point I'm trying to make is what we're trying to do here with the channel is to open it up, man. Forgetting about the Patreons and stuff and all that there. Everybody in the chat knows if I fucking know you, I'm going to get you in. It doesn't matter whether you pay me or not, I'm going to get you fucking in. And the ability, referencing back to BrainBug, before BrainBug had 100 subscribers, or maybe just over 100 subscribers, he wanted to do a video on the plague. And, the locusts in the plague and how they are accurate or inaccurate or this, that and the other. He's an insect guy. That's what he wanted to do. And he reached out to Aaron Ra through a connection from me and Manda. And not only did he get an interview with Aaron Ra, he got Aaron Ra to do the voiceover for the start of his video.
Nice.
And it's opportunities like that and connections like that we're trying to do here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually one guy I've never. I think I was once in a hangout back when I first got on. I think Matt Dillahunty showed up. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember. I didn't talk to him. I do remember that much. But it was a big hangout. It was back when on like Google Plus, the Google Hangouts thing. So it was a big group of people, and it was late at night. I'm pretty sure it was either one that my brother had gotten me into, or it was one he was co-hosting or something like that. But I don't think I've ever met Aaron Ra. I don't think I've ever talked to him, or ever been in a hangout where he happened to show up. So I've been kind of curious to actually like talk to him because I really like his science videos. So.
Well, when I come back into the community in and around late 2017, start of 2018, maybe a wee bit earlier before that. That's my vocal talking and live chat community. But when I come back onto the internet, and it was in around 2008, 2009, the 3 people that I found was Aaron Ra, Dark Matter 2525, and the Non-Stamp Collector. And I have had the interview with Aaron Ra. I've spoke to Dark Matter 2525. And if nobody is following Non-Stamp Collector, he figured out how to go live about 3 weeks ago and did a 2-hour stream. So resubscribe to the Non-Stamp Collector. He said hello to me in the live chat. So I've nearly, found my hero, so to speak. Like people like Hitchens that everybody knows about. I never knew about until the anniversary of his death in 2018.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Hitchens was kind of a big one for me because I read his book, and that was sort of I had this job and I had a lot of reading time, so I decided at the time I was kind of politically conservative and still a deist, at least or a theist, and so I started just challenging myself, like how much do I actually know about these topics? Let's read the other side and see what can happen. So I started reading books from both sides on lots of different things, politics and religion. And the religion one, the political one happened faster. That one, like about 6 or 7 books in, it was like, yeah, I don't think I'm a conservative anymore in the American political sense. And then the religious stuff, that took longer, but one of, I think it was the God Is Not Great book, that was influential. And I read one that was a collection. He edited it. It's a collection of atheist readings, and it includes all sorts of different authors, lots of different essays and stuff in there. That was pretty good too.
Sorry, I'm just giving shit to Dave in the chat because he's also in the back room waiting to get go fuck yourself, Dave. No, he's very happy because after the conversation, Dave was in the back room and he got to meet Dark Matter as well, and then Dark Matter followed him on Twitter. And he didn't follow me, even though I produced the show. So Dave's been rubbing that in my face.
I know the username Non-Stab Collector. I've seen that name around. Dark Matter 2525. I'm not familiar with.
Well, then you need to go sort your life out. Why did I even have you on this show? There is the best thing I can suggest to you, man, is go lock yourself in a room for 48 hours. Go to Dark Matter 2525 and put on The Power Corrupts. It's a playlist he's been building from, I think, 2010, maybe earlier. And it's a series of videos where it explains what if the universe was a virtual simulation and God was just a guy, like a teenager that was put in for a test. And it matches what we do. It's fucking great. You need to watch it.
Okay. All right, yeah, I'll check it out.
Right, well, what I've done is I've put the StreamYard link in the live chat. Santi said he was up for it. Doubting Thomas said he was up for it. It's not going to be a massive one. Jeff, do we have you for any sort of time? Do you have a limit? Do we have to...
No, I'm good. I'm here.
Perfect. Right, well, what we'll do is I'm going to do it one last time. Control and V. There's the link. And Jeff... let everybody know what you do, what you're doing, where to find you, your Twitter, your Discord. Just talk for at least 3 minutes so I can schedule an after party.
Channel's Jefferson Spatchcock. Spooky Bed Air was nice enough to put that link in the chat several times. That's in there. My brother's Jay Pasick. He's got a smaller channel too, bigger than mine though, and he's been at this a lot longer. Other than that, I do have a Twitter feed. I'm not that active on Twitter, but it's under the username is Jefferson Spatchcock, so I'm pretty sure I'm searchable there on Twitter. Other than social media, I do have a Discord server, but it's not the best. I'm not real disciplined at keeping up with my Discord server, so that's still kind of a work in progress. It's really, really low, and there's not a lot of people running around in there. So I do game a little bit, but not a lot. So Discord's not really that important to me. Other than that, I'm hoping to get more of my own videos out there. I'm thinking about, not being lazy and maybe inviting some of the people that I've gotten into arguments with to come onto my channel to discuss the issues with me, if they were going to show up. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But,
well, that's again, man, referencing back, I've nothing happening because I have the daughter from Tuesday to Thursday. But Thursday night, we are doing an open mic night. Jeff, there is a definite opening for yourself. I will give you a priority seat,
Okay. Yeah, Thursday's perfect. You usually do those at around, 10 o'clock? So 5 o'clock my time?
Yes, 5 Eastern, 10 UK, 6 Central, and 7 Pacific, if I'm right. I'm learning time zones as best I can. But Thursday, yes, we finished the Gilgamesh series with Richard. We're going to try and think of another book, maybe come back with series 4. But for the time being, we're going to go with open mic nights on Thursday. Bring a topic, let's talk about it. I don't want it to be a bunch of atheists. That's one fucking thing for sure. I want us to be a group of everybody. I want it to be open. I want us all to have a chat. Dave's posted the link already. There is rules. Basically, it's don't be a fucking asshole. There's only 3 rules, but it boils down to don't be an asshole. That's it. Going to try and leave it as open as possible. We want to promote...
I'll try my best then.
Pardon?
I'll try my best not to be an asshole then.
Oh, no. Well, I think the first rule is when I tell you to shut the fuck up, you shut the fuck up. The next rule is don't overtalk people. One person talks at a time. And the third one is if you disagree with me, I'll just kick you.
That's fair.
So, yeah, I'm God. On my own channel, I'm God. So, I have scheduled the after party. Dave, do your thing. post the after party in the fucking live chat like a good man. And what we will do is we'll go offline for a couple of minutes. And we will, we'll see you over at the after party. We already have 3 more people in the back. Cool. Right. So on that note, Jeff has done his bit. I will be back on Thursday. And we will oink and out. Oh, and as always,
Thank you very much for having me on.
thank you, Jeff. And thank everybody for watching. If nobody watched, this wouldn't be worthwhile. And a giant shout out to the Patreons. So, oink and out.